Streaming from Oklahoma's own digital studio, this is TU Football Update, brought to you by Brahms. Here's Jeremie Poplin.
Hey, welcome into another TU Football Update here live from the digital studios. My name is Jeremie Poplin, and we want to thank Brahms for helping sponsor all of our great content that we have here for you on Oklahoma's own sports YouTube channel. By the way, if you have not been able to subscribe yet, please hit that subscribe button and like all of our content, whether that's shorts or all the other videos that we are helping produce here at Griffin Media. We've got an Oklahoma podcast, Oklahoma State podcast, and obviously you're watching the University of Tulsa podcast. TU trying to bounce back after a loss to New Mexico State with Navy coming into the house. Well, that gets us to today's podcast. So typically, when one of the academy teams shows up, this is what happens inside of the newsroom. I say inside of the newsroom like I've been here a long time. I mean, I'm only entering year 2 since I've gone upstairs here at News on 6, but did this last year for Army and this year for Navy. You start to go through the roster and you look for any connections to the state of Oklahoma, because typically pretty good stories follow with anyone that is at one of the service academies. And as we started to go through the number of players that have connections to Oklahoma, there was one that was from Deer Creek, offensive lineman. Toran Smith is his name. As a matter of fact, you look on the 2 deep, and he is the starting center for Navy. And as you go through and you start reading bios, just to see, all right, where could this potentially lead us? On Toran's bio at the very bottom, when it breaks down his family, the following note was there about his father, who played football at the University of Tulsa, Brad Smith, and his mother, who was a basketball player for the women's program at TU. And you start putting 2 to 2 together, and you're like, wow, that's quite the connection. Oh, it goes even deeper than that, because Brian Newberry, the head coach at Navy, is an Oklahoma native, played high school football at Westmore. And you find out that Brad Smith, former Tulsa offensive lineman, whose son Toran is the center at Navy, played high school football with Brad Newberry at Westmore. Connection goes even further than that. By the way, you're going to see some outstanding highlights here coming up in a second from one of the state championship broadcasts, where I can't wait to show you Brian Newberry, what his picture looked like as starting quarterback. I hadn't seen him without a beard before. It's a pretty awesome picture, and you'll see that here coming up in just a few moments. They played in the state championship game, Class 5A, did Westmore, ended up losing that game in overtime. But Newberry goes on to play college football at Baylor. Brad Smith goes to the University of Tulsa. Did not play in 94, but in 95, when he made his very first start of his career, University of Tulsa opened up with Baylor and Brian Newberry, the current head coach at Navy. So there's a ton of connections that are there, and I thought, what a great way to be able to display a connection between Navy and the University of Tulsa for this week's upcoming game. So without further ado, we have a guest that will be joining us here on the Tulsa podcast. It is Brad Smith. He's the battalion chief at the Oklahoma City Fire Department, one of, and he is making his way down to Tulsa, down the turnpike, coming up this weekend with a whole bunch of family members. I'll let him tell you how many, to cheer on his son, Toran, who's the starting center for Navy. So without further ado, here is former University of Tulsa offensive lineman Brad Smith joining us here on the podcast. Like and subscribe, please. Oklahoma's own sports. And here's our guest. It's got to be an incredibly exciting time for your family right now.
It is. It's a lot of fun. We're very excited. He's just a true sophomore. They don't have a redshirt option at the academy unless you go to their prep school for that first year. So, we had confidence in him the whole time. I knew he could play at this level. I don't know that we knew it would happen this quickly. So, we're just excited. It's kind of surreal, honestly.
How did this journey begin? Walk me through the process of when he knew that the academy was the right place for him.
I think it was kind of kind of up in the air about it until we went in June, before his senior year, to visit Navy, and didn't really know a lot about it. But once he saw it in person, met Coach Newberry, met the coaching staff there, and really learned what the academy has to offer long term, not just the next 4 years, but in life. I think that cemented, his commitment. And I think he actually committed about a week later after that visit.
Do you obviously you have an incredible amount of pride in the fact that the Toran's at the academy? What's life like for him in kind of reporting back to you in this, complete change from life from a high school level then to being at the academy? I mean, time management on top of everything else that goes involved with this, but how is life for him at the academy, and how much does he love it?
Well, it's gotten a lot easier this year. That first year, their plebe year, is very demanding. They hit the ground running at 5 a.m. and don't get in bed till after 10 o'clock at night. So he's already noticed. He can already tell a difference this year. Just the demands on his time make it a little easier. Just to manage everything. Academics, I think there's always a learning curve with anything you do. And so I think just having that first year under his belt, going into his sophomore year, I think it's slowed down. Everything's slowed down for him quite a bit.
Walk me through just your relationship with Coach Newberry. Obviously, you guys were teammates. By the way, did you know your 91 championship game is on YouTube? I just watched it like a few moments ago before we jumped on this. The 5A state championship game in its entirety is on YouTube. So
is it really?
Yeah, they ran through the starting lineups. Laughing because I don't think I've ever seen Coach Newberry without a beard before, and a cool picture at quarterback. Yeah. But your connection to him, obviously through high school, and we'll get into the very weird one that happened as well from your first start at TU. Have you guys been in contact? Have you guys remained friends throughout the course of life, even after high school and through college?
We, of course, we played when I was at TU. We played Baylor, and I think that was the last time I saw Coach Newberry until about 2012. And it was his class's 20-year high school reunion, and we had a football reunion, and so I kind of reconnected with him then. And of course, 2012, that now there's social media, there's smartphones, and we can text each other. So that's when we kind of reconnected. And of course, I followed his progress, the progress of his coaching career. And then when he became the defensive coordinator at Navy, of course, everybody, all of our high school buddies were paying attention at that point. And then I think about 2020 or 2021, Toran and I went up there to our first Army-Navy game, and so that was exciting. I think that started to open his eyes a little bit, like, hey, if I'm good enough, this might be a really awesome option for me. So
what kind of guy is Coach Newberry? You hear great stories about him, and was it something? Could you kind of see it back in high school that maybe this path that he's on now was perfect for him?
Well, Brian is the same guy today that he was in high school, and to me that's the best thing about him. He's a humble guy, smart, works hard, has a lot of pride in doing a good job, no matter what. I didn't know he was going to be a coach back then, but I knew whatever Brian chose to do, he would be successful at, and he always joked back in high school that it seemed like he was 10 years older than the rest of us. He just had that, there's something about him. He was just a little more mature. And he was our quarterback, played free safety. He was our leader, just never seemed to get rattled, and just always did the right things, always did everything to make himself and our team better.
What do you remember about that 91 state championship game?
Oh man,
you guys were 8-5, and PC Putnam City was undefeated, and that game went to overtime. I mean, that was wire to wire, and ended what, on a 4th and 1? I think.
Yeah.
Is that how it ended?
we had in overtime. We had third and goal at the 1, and to their credit, BC North they stopped us twice in a row to win the game. But yeah, that year was odd. We started off, I think, after 7 games, we were 2-5, and all of a sudden something clicked. We had a really great tailback, Jeff Frazier, that played at OU, and the offensive line came together. Our coaches put Brian and Jeff Frazier on defense. They started playing safety, so our defense immediately got a lot better, and all of a sudden we got hot and made it all the way to the finals, and just couldn't finish it there at the end.
All right, so tell me about playing at TU, obviously with Coach Rader. When did you start thinking, all right, I think I have the ability to play at the next level, and what was the relationship like with Coach Rader?
Oh, Coach Rader, I mean, I'm sure you've talked to him before. He's one of the best human beings on planet Earth. I owe a lot to him. He gave me a shot. I only had 2 Division I offers, Tulsa and Wyoming. Chose Tulsa because it was closer to home. And I remember showing up, and I was undersized, much like Toran is. And I remember showing up with just in my incoming class, there were 7 offensive linemen that they had recruited that year, and these guys were 6'6", 6'7", 6'5", and here I was at 6'2". I was the runt, and there was a time where I thought, I will never play it down here. And but once I got out of my own head and just started doing my thing, things came together, and I ended up starting 3 years at guard. At 6'2", 290 or whatever. But yeah, Coach Rader, Coach Mac Butler recruited me.
Yeah.
So I owe a lot to those 2 guys for sure.
How was the overall experience at TU? And obviously, I mean, you met your wife who played basketball there.
Yeah.
As well. So a number of good things came out of it. But how was your overall experience in playing for TU?
Yeah, I wouldn't change any of it. We didn't get as many wins as we would have wanted, but yeah, I've got my best friends came out of that 4.5 years there at TU. Obviously, like you said, met my wife. We've got four kids. Yeah, I wouldn't change any of it. We beat OU in Norman.
Right? I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
Beat that '96 team. That was a little bit of an enigma. We beat Iowa, OU, and Colorado State, who at the time was a 2-time defending WAC champs, and then for whatever reason kind of fell apart the rest of the way. But yeah, so 30 years later, it's more about the relationships and the experience, and like I said, I wouldn't change any of it.
Pretty crazy. It's 30 years ago, and you were witness to maybe one of the greatest plays, right, in the history of the program, which is Wes Caswell and what happened there in Norman. I've got to ask about that. What was that feeling like, being able to walk off the field on that day with a victory over OU?
It's probably the highlight of my football career there, just because I grew up in Moore. I was 10 years old in '85 when they won the national championship with the Boz, Jamel Holloway, Tony Casillas, all those, Ricky Dixon. So I was a huge OU fan, and so as a young kid growing up, 20 miles from OU, my dream was to play at OU. Well, so during my senior year of high school, it became apparent, I was a little undersized for them to recruit me, and so to be able to go there, and a lot of us were that way. A lot of the guys on that TU team, the Oklahoma guys, were guys that OU and OSU had overlooked.
Yeah.
So to beat them in Norman, I mean, it's still one of the best days of my life for sure.
So what's the arrangements coming up for Saturday? How many tickets do you got? How many family members are going to be in attendance? I can imagine. Now, you guys also have kind of the history from last year, because it was plebe status, of course, last year with going down to play OU in the bowl game.
Right.
And I read where you had a lot of family members there. What's it going to be like on Saturday in the crowd?
Yeah, it's. I think we're up to 48 friends and family that'll be there. Uh, and Toran's done a really good job of going out and recruiting tickets from his teammates who aren't using their tickets for this game. So
Yeah.
we've got everybody covered. We've tried to streamline it and make it as little of a distraction for him as possible. But it's going to be really fun. I think we've got like 5 tailgates we're supposed to stop in at. So it'll be fun. It'll be a day to remember for sure.
Yeah, you got a full day ahead of you coming up on Saturday for sure. Man, I can't thank you enough for all the time. Congratulations, all of your family success, your personal success, and having a son at a service academy is something obviously tip of the cap to as well. And it'll great to be back and see. Do you get around to you much? I know you're just in Oklahoma City. It's not like you're hours upon hours away. How often do you make it back down the turnpike?
Once he started high school football, I don't think I've been in the last 3 years, but prior to that, I would try to get to 2 or 3 games a year,
right.
and for sure make homecoming every year.
Campus has changed a little bit since you've been there, huh?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a lot different.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. We'll have a great time this weekend, and I can't thank you enough for your time. We really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy.
Satisfy your sweet tooth with a Brahms old-fashioned banana split. Crafted with a delicious banana, split down the middle and filled with not 1, but 3 scoops of Brahms premium ice cream flavors. To complete this masterpiece, all your favorite toppings are poured on each scoop to bring it all together in a perfect harmony of flavor. Treat yourself to an old-fashioned banana split at Brahms, where every spoonful leaves you wanting more.
48 members of the Smith family will be in attendance this Saturday as Tulsa gets set to host Navy. Thank you so much to Brad for joining me a little bit earlier. It's fun going down memory lane and learning a little bit more about the connections between TU and current Navy roster. All right, remember, hit that like and subscribe button. Oklahoma's Own Sports is the name of the YouTube channel where you can find all of our content, and as well, thank you so much to our great friends at Brahms for helping sponsor all of our content. I wish this was a milkshake right now. It's actually all water. But when I get out of here, I'm probably going to stop by Brahms and get a nice milkshake, or maybe even a little pistachio almond. That sounds pretty good right now. Did I say pistachio? Pistachio almond. I don't know what's wrong with me. It's been too long since I've had one. That's what's wrong with me. I need to get a little sugar in my system. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we'll see you next time with our preview edition before Tulsa and Navy come your way coming up on a Saturday. By the way, it's so funny to watch everyone that doesn't want to walk behind the broadcast here, and they take a long loop around the front way. I'll call Livy out next time for not walking behind me just so she doesn't make it on camera. We'll see you next time as well here, and thank you for tuning in to another TU Football Update.
Thank you for watching this Oklahoma's Own Digital Studios sports presentation. Stay with News on 6, online and on television anytime for the latest news, weather, and sports.